Michelle here. Welcome to Stretch and Reset, one of my favorite classes to teach throughout the week. We're going to be doing all sorts of stretching and mobility work for our entire body, from our toes all the way up through our necks. And we'll be using a few different props to hit all of those different spots. The first and probably the most important for this class is going to be a foam roller. And it can be all sorts of different sizes. I know they make short ones, they make more narrow ones or wider ones, soft ones, firm ones. As long as it feels good for you and you can get both legs on the roller at once, it's gonna work great. Another prop we're gonna use today is a sock. And you want it to be relatively thin. So a big wool winter sock isn't gonna cut it for this. You won't be able to weave it how we need to. So you're gonna grab something more closely similar to a dress sock. And then lastly, I always like to leave a towel or a yoga strap at the top of my mat just in case one of the folds or stretches is a little out of my reach and I need to wrap it around my foot or connect my hands together and back of it. So something that's got a little bit of length to it that you can hold on to. But other than that, you just need yourself. And we're gonna get started in child's pose today. And so we've got our foam roller just horizontal across the top of the mat. You'll take a step back away from the foam roller and come down into your child's pose. Letting your head rest down on the ground, crawling your fingertips all the way up to the top of your mat. And just let the upper body get really heavy. Let the hands get heavy and the shoulders melt down toward the ground. Maybe you start to feel that stretch across the armpits right away. And if not, don't worry about that stretch. Just tap into your breath. Take a big inhale in for 4 counts. And out for 4 counts. Full breath in for 4. Full breath out for 4. 2 more times. Breathe all the way in, filling up the belly and the ribs. And empty all the way out, softening the hips and the shoulders. 1 more time. Deep breath in through the nose. 4 full counts. And exhale, sigh it out. Now, if you did nothing else for the rest of the hour and just breathed that intentionally, you would notice a reset or restoration or rejuvenation by the end of this. So make sure the breath is present this whole time. If you have your foam roller in front of you, you're gonna bring your hands onto the foam roller and come right back into your child's pose. So the hands are elevated just a little off the ground. Now press your palms into your foam roller or even into your floor and just scoop the chest up a little tiny bit. And so the roller and the fingers are trying to reach toward the top of the mat, and your heart and your upper back are trying to pull away from the mat. Take a big inhale as you round your upper back, and then soften the shoulders and let your head rest back down on the ground. Press your palms into your roller, scoop your chest away from the floor, and then reach the roller out a little longer as you rest your head back down. 1 more time. Palms press into the roller, lift your chest around the upper back, and then reach the roller further out in front of you. Bone by bone, we're gonna start to stack ourselves back up to a seated position. Tuck the tailbone under, let the lower back curve, and then the middle back, and then the upper back, and then your head stacks right over top of your shoulders. We're gonna take our hands over the roller into a tabletop, and you're gonna take the roller right underneath your quads. Bring it down to your forearms. And then just give me a little bit of energy or effort in the abs, hugging the belly button up, protecting the low back. And you'll start to slowly roll forward and backwards. I want you to really take your time. Try to feel each piece of the leg press into the roller. You can go as far forward and backwards as you want. Take all 10 toes, turn them toward the right side so that you feel this a little more on the left outer thigh and the right inner thigh. And then in this time that we're on the roller like this, any other modifications or adjustments that you want to make, feel free to move the body weight around or linger on a spot if it feels like it needs a lot of attention. You could just stay there and breathe. And then slowly turn all 10 toes to the left, feeling the right outer thigh and the left inner thigh. Just gently waking up the quads, starting to send a little bit of movement or blood flow into the quads and the hip flexors, the muscles that surround the knee. And then bring your toes back to the center. So all 10 toes face the ground. And now pigeon toe your feet. So the toes turn in and the heels turn out. And you'll feel a lot on the outsides of both quads. Another breath or two here on the front of the legs. And then pausing somewhere in the center of the quad, bend your knees so your heels are lifted, and you're going to windshield wiper your feet from right to left. It's probably the most intense variation of this. Very slowly, just rocking the legs from right to left, noticing all the tender spots that show up. Trying to keep that even 4 count, inhale and exhale. And then we'll bring our knees down to the ground, behind the roller. Bring yourself back up to tabletop. And just slide the roller out in front of you for another moment or two. So we're just gonna leave it there for a breath or two. Palms come underneath the shoulders, and we'll take a few rounds of cat and cow with your toes tucked. So tuck the toes, the bottoms of the feet are pressing to the back of the mat. Drop your belly to the floor, look up to the ceiling on your inhale. Tuck your chin into your chest, round your back as you exhale. Take your belly to the floor, look up to the ceiling as you breathe in. Tuck your chin into your chest, round your back as you breathe out. One more time, belly to the floor, gaze lifts to the ceiling and pause. Now pretend like you could drag your hands and knees toward each other. They won't actually move, but just a little bit of effort toward the center line. And then take a deep breath in. Notice that extra stretch in the abs. Tuck your chin into your chest, round your back. Pretend like you could push your hands and knees away from one another. One more time like that. Belly drops to the floor, hands and knees slide toward the center. And then back rounds, chin tucks, hands and knees slide away from each other. Sit your butt back on your heels, and then swing both legs around in front of you, and grab that single sock that we have. You're gonna take the sock, and depending on how thick it is, or how woolly it is, will determine how many times you fold it up. But you're gonna create a little piece of fabric that we're gonna weave through our toes, kind of like the foam things they put on your toes when you get a pedicure. So we're gonna start in between the big and the second toe, and you're gonna place that sock between those 2 toes. And then you're gonna take the sock, weave it behind the second toe, in front of the third toe, behind the fourth toe, and then it'll go over top of the pinky toe. And then I want you to wrap your toes around the sock and squeeze your toes as tight as you can, like you're trying to make a fist with your foot. If your sock is too thin, you might need to double it up. That's what kind of depends on how thick the sock is. Mine's really thin, so I just folded it in half again. And then I make that fist feeling, and the muscles on the arch of the foot should stiffen up, almost like they're doing a lot of work, and the muscles on the top of the foot get a nice stretch. You can take your hands on the toes and kind of assist that wrap or that curved fist motion with the toes, just feeling the muscles on the top of the foot stretch. And then a couple times, lift and stretch the toes a little wider, like you could spread them out right to left, and then make that fist again. It's like once or twice. You're just gonna keep trying to curl your toes around that sock. Nice, one more time. And then you're gonna take the sock out from between your toes, and we're gonna go the other way. So now you're gonna start with the sock behind your big toe, in front of your second toe, behind your middle toe, in front of your fourth, and then around the pinky toe. And you'll do the same thing, just curl your toes around the sock. Feels really funny. If it hurts to sit like this, if your low back is feeling bothered, you can always sit in a chair or on a couch or something, or you can sit on a couple pillows to lift the body up. And then same thing, you're just gonna lift and stretch the toes out, and then wrap your toes around the sock. And it feels really, really silly at first. And you're gonna let it feel silly for 2 more. And then I want you to take the sock off of your foot, stand up, and just take a little walk around in a circle. Notice if the right foot feels any extra stretched than the left, or even if you just stand still. And for me, I notice that the right foot is more spacious on the ground, like the muscles in the bottom of the foot have eased a little bit and the whole foot takes up some more space. Yeah, we're gonna sit back down and do the same thing on the left. And you're gonna take the sock in between the middle and the second toe, in front of the second toe, behind the third toe, in front of the fourth toe, and around the back of the pinky toe. And then same thing, just wrap the toes around the sock. You can use your hand to make it feel tighter or extra stretchy. And if you're holding onto your foot while you're doing that, go ahead and use your fingertips as a little massage on the arch of the foot. You can kind of poke around down there, give a little pressure onto the right and the left side. If you feel something that feels like sensitive or kind of takes your breath away for a second, just push in a lot and take a few extra deep breaths. So you'll lift and stretch the toes out and then wrap them back around. Awesome. And then take the sock out and reverse the direction. So now it's gonna go behind the big toe, in front of the second toe, behind the third. Oh, that's what I just did, so I'm gonna go the other way. It's gonna go behind the second toe, in front of the third, behind the fourth, and over top of the pinky toe. I'm just trying to create the tightest fix that you can with the bottom of that foot. Feel the muscles in the arch of the foot engage, feel the top of the foot stretch out. Awesome. And then you can take your sock out from between your toes, and we are done with that. So that can go off at the top of the mat. You're gonna take your foam roller and rest your legs over the foam roller, just your calves. And you're gonna rock your legs from right to left. From the very top of the thighs, trying to keep the feet lazy. Just noticing that first little massage through the bottoms of the legs, through the calf muscle, from the back of the knee all the way to the Achilles. And then if that doesn't feel like pins and needles, and if you're able to take that deep breath, I want you to lift yourself up off the ground. So use your hands to lift your seat and start to scoot forward and backwards, kind of like you did when we were on our quads. And you'll do a couple rolls with all 10 toes facing the right. And that left inner calf muscle usually tries to boycott that a little bit. Make sure you're holding your breath, trying to soften your jaw. And then you'll do a couple rolls with all 10 toes facing the left. Feel that big knot on the inside of the right calf. and then bring your seat back down to the ground, and we're gonna sit right on top of the roller. Now, if you have a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball at home, that would be a way to get a deeper massage, almost like a deep tissue versus Swedish massage. I always struggle saying that word. So you could always take the lacrosse ball underneath your glute if you needed that extra intensity. You're gonna bring your hands behind the roller, cross your right ankle to your left knee. Pick your whole butt up off the roller and lean your body to the right. So you're gonna drop down onto that right hip. Once you have that right hip on, start to scoot forward and backwards and feel that little massage on the outer glute of that right side. And then you'll slowly start to travel from that outer edge of the glute toward the center, stopping just before you get to your sacrum. So I like to stay away from any bony structures when I'm foam rolling, trying to make sure that I'm just on that soft tissue, on that muscle. But as always, it's your body and you always know best. Just a few more moments on this right side, and I want you to start to move the body a little more. Drop the right knee closer toward the ground. Maybe you take bigger sweeps forward and backwards, getting a little closer to the top of the hip and then closer toward the sit bone. And then you're going to pause in the center, bring your feet to the ground, and do the same thing on the other side. Left ankle crosses on top, lift your hips up, tip to the left, and then sit back down. And again, if you wanted to use a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball, you would just place that ball right where the foam roller is underneath that left hip. Coming back to that even 4-count breath, all the way in for 4, and all the way up for 4. 4 counts in, and 4 counts out. Take just a few more moments on this left hip, moving around as much as you can, trying to find or explore all of those little areas. Just always stopping to give attention to those areas that talk back really loudly. And then we'll bring ourselves to a pause in the center. Bring your seat all the way down to the ground in front of the foam roller. And then the very last thing we'll do with this is our upper backs, mid to upper back. You're going to place this just below your shoulder blades. So I'm not quite on my lumbar spine, but just about where my lumbar spine begins to fade into my thoracic spine. Wrap your arms around your body like you're giving yourself a big hug. And then you're just going to rock from right to left. Imagine the middle of your back was itching and you're trying to scratch your back on the roller, but sink all of your body weight down into it. I want you to make it feel like you're stretching the muscles laterally right to left. Almost like you're pinning it down and then tugging it side to side. And then pause in the center. Reach the crown of your head back over the roller, open up the chest, and then pull yourself all the way back up. You're going to scoot your hips forward an inch, so we're a little higher up on our backs, and you're going to do that same thing. And then maybe you start to add in a little weight transfer from right to left, pressing some weight onto the right side, and then some weight onto the left side. Now for me, when I get to one of those sides, first I'm going to bring my hands behind my head because my neck is starting to work a little too much. But when I get onto that right side, I take the biggest breath that I can. And then exhale and try to really encourage those muscles to soften on the breath out. And same thing on the other side. Leaning to the left, take a giant breath in. And then exhale, soften onto that roller. I come back to the center. I take that same stretch where I reach the crown of my head up and over the roller. And then pull your head back up in line with the rest of your back. We'll do it one more time. Scooting your hips forward. So now we're right in between the shoulder blades. Either holding your head or hugging your body. Just take a little rock from right to left. And then lean a little extra weight onto the right side. Take a deep breath in. And a full breath out. And then over to the left. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Bring it back to center. Hands behind your head if they're not already there. Lift your hips up. And then just take a little scoot forward and backwards. Really slow. Imagine trying to scoop up like gravel. We don't want to just run our hand over it really fast and shake the rocks up. We want to really reach the edge of the hand under and be able to scoop up a little bit of that gravel by the time we're finished. So nice and slow. And press into all of those spots that feel just a little tender. And then one last time, lower your hips to the ground, reach your chest up and over the roller. Big stretch to the front of your chest. And then chin into your chest. Bring yourself all the way up to sit. We're going to put the roller off to the back of our mat, and we are finished with that for now. So we can go pretty far out of your way. We're going to roll over our shins, come into tabletop one more time. And then from tabletop, tuck your toes, press your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Just take a couple deep breaths in down dog, pedaling out the knees. One knee bends at a time. That opposite hamstring and calf get a lot of extra stretch. Stretch both legs out long. Reach your hips up and back, further away from the fingertips. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Reach your chest back toward your thighs on your exhale. Lift your hips up on your breath in. Sink your heels to the ground on your breath out. One more time. Tailbone lifts up away from the hands as you inhale. Melt your chest back toward your thighs. Melt your heels down as you exhale. Keep your feet where they are. Walk your hands back towards your feet for ragdoll. Nice and soft in the knees. Even if you could touch the ground with straight legs, bend your knees. Let your chest rest on your thighs. Grab opposite triceps or wrap your arms around the elbows. And just take a little rock from right to left. Trying to take a little bit of the work out of this pose and just let the upper body hang. Release your hands. Keep that big bend in your knees as you slowly stack your spine. Think of dropping the tailbone under first, and then stacking the lower back, and then the middle back, your upper back, your shoulders, and then finally your head lifts. Sweep your arms up overhead, take a big breath in. With a flat back, dive back over your legs on your breath out. Soften your knees just like last time. Slowly roll yourself up. Let the crown of your head reach to the ground. Drag the upper body all the way up to stack on top of the lower body. One more time. Arms sweep up. Take a deep breath in. Forward fold. Dive over the legs as you breathe out. Soften your knees. Drop the tailbone and then drag the crown of the head all the way back up over top of the spine. Keep your arms all the way up overhead. Take a big breath in. Fold forward over the legs on your breath out. Walk your hands out toward the top of your mat, ending your downward facing dog. And pick up where you left off on the last one. So that biggest version. Sit bones reaching toward the ceiling, chest pressing back toward your thighs. Lift your right leg up toward the sky for three-legged dog on your inhale. Step your right foot between your hands for low lunge on your exhale. Right foot forward, left knee drops all the way down. Sweep your fingertips up toward the ceiling. And grab your left wrist with your right hand. Pull your left wrist over to the right side of your mat. Now stay and breathe a few really deep breaths into the left lower abdominals. And the breath will fill all over, but just emphasize that feeling down those left lower abs and notice that left hip flexor stretch take up your full attention. The deeper you breathe in, the bigger that stretch gets, and we use that exhale to soften that spot. Take one more big breath in. One more big breath out. Reach your arms up, separate your hands, frame your right foot. You'll stretch your right leg out just a little bit, as much as you can without having to adjust too much. And then bend your right knee, tuck your left toes, step back to downward facing dog. From downward dog, lift your left leg to the ceiling, three-legged dog on a big breath in. Left foot between your hands for a low lunge. Drop the back knee to the mat. Reach your fingertips up toward the ceiling. Grab your right wrist, pull it over to the left. And now we breathe into those right lower abdominal muscles a little more than anywhere else. On that inhale, fill the stretch up. Let it reach its peak on the breath in. And then encourage those muscles to soften on the breath out. Give that right wrist another tug. Make the side of the body stretch longer. Last time, breathe in. Breathe out. Reach your arms back up. Separate your hands. Frame your left foot. Slide your hips back. Lengthen your left leg just a little. And then bend your left knee. Plant your hands. Downward facing dog. Lift your right leg to the ceiling, three-legged dog on your breath in. Right foot between your hands for runner's lunge on your breath out. That back knee is going to stay lifted this time. Gaze up to the ceiling, take a deep breath in. A wide leg, messy pyramid. Just bend the right knee as much as you can. And then just straighten the right leg as much as you can. Bend the right knee on your next breath in. And just straighten the right leg. Don't worry about what it looks like. A few more times, bend the right knee, and straighten the right knee. Maybe it gets a little easier each time. Maybe you go a little further. The next time your right knee is bent, keep it bent. Now reach your right arm up toward the ceiling. So the left hand is still down, and the right arm reaches up. Now use that reach, that right hand, to try to roll the chest up toward the ceiling. And then take the outer edge of your right hip and pull it back toward your left inner thigh, or toward the back of your mat. Feel almost like a half pigeon stretch through the outside of that right hip. Stay for 3 breaths. Taking any adjustments you need to try to feel this stretch more. Last big breath in. Big breath out. Frame your right foot. Step back to downward facing dog. Lift your left leg to the ceiling, a deep breath in. Left foot between your hands, runner's lunge on the breath out. Again, that back knee stays lifted. Take your gaze up toward the ceiling, a full inhale. Stretch the left leg long, messy pyramid as you exhale. And then just keep rocking between those two. Bend the left knee, look up. Stretch the left leg long, bow forward. Both sides are different. We don't need them to look anything alike. I just want you to find a similar stretch. So if one side's feeling easier than the other, ask how you can adjust your posture to feel that stretch a little more. The next time your left leg is bent, keep it bent. Reach your left arm up toward the ceiling for that twisting low lunge. Using those left fingertips to pull your chest away from the ground, and then tug the outside of that left hip toward the back edge of the mat. Maybe you reach the right hip up toward the top edge of the mat and feel that resistance center. Feel that thing that you're twisting away from. Take one more inhale, reach a little higher. Twist deeper on the exhale. Plant your left hand around your left foot and step back to downward facing dog. Keep your feet where they are. Walk your hands back towards your feet for ragdoll, just like we did in the beginning. Take that big bend over your knees. Soften the back of the neck. Bend your right leg, straighten your left. Lift your left arm up toward the ceiling. You can bring your right hand onto a prop, onto a block or a chair. Just feel that big stretch in the outside of the left leg. And then soften your knees in the middle. Left hand plants, left knee bends. Straighten the right, lift the right. You'll keep alternating between those two. Right knee bends, left leg straightens. Left knee bends, right leg straightens. One more each way. And then bring both hands down to the ground. Soften over the legs. Walk your hands all the way back out into your downward facing dog. Reach your right leg up toward the ceiling on your inhale. Three-legged dog. Keep the right leg there. Bend your right knee and try to stack your right hip on top of your left. Really strong in the arms. Think of lifting the right knee cut closer toward the ceiling to take a little bit of weight out of the hands. You can draw circles with your right ankle or with your right knee. And then stretch your right leg toward the ceiling. Square your hips off as you breathe in. Right foot forward, runner's lunge on your breath out. Lift your fingertips up toward the ceiling for a high lunge on your inhale. And then just like we did in low lunge, use your right hand to pull your left wrist up and over, emphasizing that left hip flexor stretch. Take one more big pull, one more big breath. Spin open, warrior two. Back heel drops to the ground, the right knee stays bent. Keep the bend in your right knee as you reach your right arm back for peaceful warrior. And then straighten your right leg, reach your right arm forward for triangle pose. So your right toes are facing 12 o'clock, and your left toes are facing the long edge of the mat toward 9 o'clock. Tighten your glutes. Try to lift the left arm up toward the sky the same way you did in that twisting low lunge. Feeling that nice side body stretch on the left side. You could drop the left bicep toward your left ear, or you could take the left hand to the small of your back. You've already felt both of those stretches. Add on where it feels good. Pull it back when you can't find that full breath again. One more inhale and exhale. Soften your right knee. Pull yourself back up to warrior two. Take a big breath in for peaceful warrior. Let it linger for just a second. Fill to the top of the breath in. Cartwheel your left hand to the ground into your twisting low lunge. Left hand down, right arm high. This time you'll drop the left knee down, reach your right fingertips to the back of the mat. Option to grab the top of the left foot, or you'll just keep the right arm reaching back and feel that stretch in your left hip flexor. Now really take the gaze, enjoy that twist, all the way to the back. Right hand reaches up and over. Frame your right foot on your inhale. Stretch your right leg long, kneeling half split on your exhale. We're going to stay in this one for a few breaths. So grab a hold of anything that's going to make the breath happen a little easier. Reaching your chest out toward your ankle, not worrying about how close you get to your thigh. That's not the goal here. We want to feel the length from the right heel all the way up through the right sit bone. Can you pull that right edge of your hip toward the back of your mat, like you're trying to drag it away from your heel? One last time, deep breath in for 4 counts. Deep breath out for 4 counts. Soften your right knee. Plant your hands. Step back to tabletop. Take your right arm up toward the ceiling. Reach it up on your inhale. Thread the needle. Right arm threads under the left on your exhale. Use that left hand to create a little bit of resistance. If your hips push over to the left, try to drag them back toward the right side. And then pull your heart away from your right fingertips so the upper body's pretty active. Press into your left hand, reach your right arm up toward the ceiling one more time to unwind, and then take your right hand back down to the ground. Tuck your toes, lift your hips downward facing dog. Hopefully it's starting to feel a little better each time. Lift your left leg up toward the ceiling, bend your left knee, and stack your left hip on top of your right. So it almost feels like you're pressing your hips to the left, but we have weight in both hands just the same. Draw circles with your foot or with your knee, or just stay and breathe. And then stretch your left leg back up toward the sky for 3-legged dog. Big inhale, left foot forward, runner's lunge on your exhale. Look up at the ceiling, take a deep breath in. Stretch the left leg long, messy pyramid on your breath out. Bend the left knee, look up, inhale. Stretch the left leg long, exhale. Last time, bend the left knee. Back into our runner's lunge. Sweep your fingertips up toward the ceiling for high lunge. And then grab your right wrist, pull it over to the left. Getting that deep stretch from the bottom of the rib all the way down through the inside of the thigh. One more inhale and exhale. Spin the back heel to the ground, warrior 2. Peaceful warrior, keep the bend in your knee as you reach the left arm back. Straighten your left leg, triangle pose. And squeeze the glutes a little and back so the fronts of the hips press toward the long side of the mat. And then decide where your top arm goes. Play around, try a couple different things, and then let it sit or let it linger where you get the biggest response. So where that breath becomes even more important. And then bring that rhythm back in. 4 counts in, 4 counts out. One last time, in through the nose, out through your nose. Soften your left knee. Lift back up for warrior 2. Peaceful warrior. Left arm reaches up and back. Stay and fill to the very top of the breath in. Twisting low lunge. Right hand comes down inside the left foot. You're going to square yourself off to the mat. And then drop your right knee to the ground. Reach your left arm to the back edge of your mat. And you can stay just like this. Only the twist, or pull your right heel in toward your seat and grab the top of your right foot. Gently release your right foot if you're holding on to it. Take that right hand and frame your left foot. And then slide your hips back for kneeling half split. And flex all 5 of your left toes. And then just like we did on the first side, take the outside of your left hip and drag it back an inch or 2. Like the bottom of your foot's trying to stretch toward the top of the mat, and your hips are trying to pull you in the opposite direction. And then from your hips, reach your chest up over the toes. Last breath in and out. And soften your left knee. Slide the left leg back next to the right for tabletop. Sweep your left arm up toward the ceiling. Take that big energizing inhale. Thread the needle. Left arm stretches underneath the right as you exhale. If your hips automatically flop over to the right, just tug them back to the left a little. And then push into that right palm and try to pull your heart away from your fingertips. Again, a little more active rather than just resting here. Last breath in and out. Press into the right palm. Lift yourself back up to tabletop. Tuck your toes. Press your hips up and back for our final downward facing dog. Couple deep breaths. Maybe you bend and straighten the knees. Rock the hips from side to side. Coming back to the feet. We're going to lift up to your toes on the inhale as high as you can. Keep the heels lifted and bend your knees, almost so that your chest is touching your thighs. And then sink your heels down to the ground as you lift your hips back up. We'll try that again one more time slow. Rise to your toes. Keep the heels high as you bend your knees. And then sink your heels down and lift your hips up at the same time. Take 3 more on your own. They're just big circles in the ankles. Really want you to emphasize that heavy feeling in the ankles or the heels as you lower back down. Awesome. Last one. Hips reach up. Arms lengthen. You'll step your right foot between your hands for runner's lunge. And then quarter turn to the long side of your mat and meet in wide leg forward fold. So that step to the top is just a transition. And we'll meet here with the legs wider than the hips, your heels wider than your toes. Push into the pinky toe side of both feet and roll your sit bones toward the ceiling. So pinky toes are heavy, sit bones are lifting. Let the top of the head reach toward the ground. Feel that extra space in the low back. Take any tension out of the neck. If you're trying to look at the floor, look right back between your legs. Take both hands, carry them over toward the right ankle. Push a little extra weight into the pinky toe side of the right foot and notice that stretch run up along the outside of your shin. And then take both hands over toward the left side, pressing into the left pinky toe side of the foot and feeling that stretch up the left side of the shin. Bring yourself back to the center. Walk your hands out in front of you so your hands are right underneath your shoulders. We're going to turn our heels in and our toes out and come into a little bit of a goddess squat. So Knees are gonna have a big bend in them. Hands are gonna come to the center of your thighs. Drop your right shoulder down, look up over your left, and use that right hand to press the right inner thigh out to the side. And then switch. Drop the left shoulder down, look up over the right. And you'll just keep alternating from side to side. Lingering on one side if it feels like it needs a little more attention. Maybe you add in a little rock from right to left, or bring it down to your forearms. And then meet back up in the center. Hands to the ground. Lift your hips forward, fold one last time. This time you walk your hands back through your feet. So you're touching the other side of the yoga mat, or just reaching your hands past that edge of the yoga mat. And just imagine you could pull your chest through your thighs. Fully feeling like there's a little extra space there. Last time, big breath in. Big breath out. Walk your hands back out in front of you. Turn to the top of your mat. And nothing fancy, we're just gonna plant our hands, drop our knees, and then lie down on your stomach. Great. You're gonna take your arms into a field goal shape. So the elbows are lifted up in line with your shoulders and your palms are facing the ground. Now take your right hand and press it onto the floor so that right elbow is lifted. My gaze is also turned to the right side. You're gonna push off of that right hand, start to gently roll onto that left shoulder, maybe dropping your right toes behind your left leg. Now the goal is to feel a stretch through your chest on the left side. So you'll rest the left side of your head on the ground. Take an inhale, try to fill up your chest. And then encourage that left side to soften as you exhale. If that's too much on the shoulder, you can come back to center and just wrap your hands together at your low back, and that'll offer a similar stretch, a little more gentle version. Gently come back down. Both hips, both legs stretch out. You'll come back to the field goal shape with your arms. Take your right cheek to the ground and use your left hand to press the left leg back, rolling onto the right side of the chest. It'll feel very different if your hand is close to your head or if it's out on a wide diagonal. It's going to feel a little more intense if your hand is wide. See if you can walk it out another inch or two. And then gently bring yourself back down. Both legs touch the ground. Press your palms into the floor. Lift just your chest up on your inhale. It's a similar stretch. Drop your left shoulder to the ground. Look to the right as you exhale. And then lift yourself back up to the center as you breathe in. Right shoulder down. Look to the left. Breathe out. Just one more each way. Back through the center. Drop the left shoulder. Look to the right. One more time. Through the middle. Drop your right shoulder, look to the left. You'll come all the way back to the center and then use both hands to press back to child's pose. Just one time from child's pose. Crawl your hands over toward the right side of the mat. And then crawl your hands over toward the left side. lift yourself up to tabletop just for transition. You'll slide your right knee to the top of your mat for half pigeon. So the right knee is going to come toward the right wrist. Your right ankle sneaks over toward that left hip. And then use your right leg to stretch this position forward and backwards. Trying to lengthen that left leg out before you take any sort of fold. And just a couple deep breaths. Bringing your slow rhythm back into the inhales and the exhales. Take your last deep breath on the right side, filling all the way up. And then melting the hips down as you exhale. And walk your hands in toward your shins, start to lift your shoulders up. And then sit on your right hip and carry your left leg around to the top of your mat. We'll meet in a single leg forward fold. And this is a good spot for a yoga strap or a towel around the bottom of your left foot. If you don't need it, sweep your arms up overhead, just get the body really long, and then reach that length all the way down the left leg. If your chest doesn't touch your thigh, I want you to worry more about reaching your chest out instead of trying to get anything to touch down. So we're going for a longer spine instead of a rounded spine. Think back to that kneeling half split and tug that left sit bone away from the left heel. Those 2 points are reaching in opposite directions. One last big inhale. One last exhale. Lift your chest and chin all the way back up. Plant your right hand behind your right hip for stargazer. So right hand plants, roll onto the right shin, reach your left arm up and back. It should be a big stretch through the left front side of the body. And then slowly bring yourself back down. We'll meet in tabletop one last time, just so you can set up half pigeon on the other leg. Sliding your left knee toward your left wrist, turning your left toes toward the right thigh, and then wiggle that right thigh all the way back. Dig the toes in, lengthen the leg, take that stretch, and then start to settle. And then slowly walk your hands in toward your shin. Lift your shoulders over top of your hips. Sit on the left hip, carry your right leg all the way around to the top of your mat. And take single leg forward fold on the other side. Reach your arms up, create length in your torso, and then bow forward over the right leg. Again, worrying more about reaching your chest out rather than trying to touch your nose or your forehead or your knee. Think of that right heel reaching away from that right hip, and then the chest reaching away from that right hip as well. Last deep breath in and out. Lift your shoulders over top of your hips. Set up stargazer on the left side. Left hand behind your hip. Roll onto your left shin. Reach the right arm back. And then bring your hips all the way down to the ground. Slowly lower yourself down. Draw your knees into your chest. Give them a big squeeze. Drop both knees over to the left. Take your gaze to the right. And this is any supine twist that your body's needing right now. So if you want to stretch that left leg long or wrap your legs around like eagle pose, you can always add those in. Lift your knees back up to the center. Drop your knees to the right, take your gaze to the left. Draw both knees back into your chest. Wrap your arms around your legs for just a moment and just take a little rock from side to side. And we are going to take a final rest or shavasana, but I don't want you to think of it as having to be that corpse pose where your legs are long and your arms are long. So if you're wanting to take a supported fish over the roller or lay with your legs up the wall, you could bring the roller underneath your hips for like a supported bridge. I'll just take a moment to think about what final resting posture you want. And then use these next few moments to set that up. So I'm going to take my foam roller and slide it underneath my hips. Right underneath my tailbone and just press that down. And this is the posture that I'm choosing, but yours doesn't have to look anything like this. Find a position that kind of wraps up this last little piece here for you. Lets the body soften, lets the mind soften. And we'll take just a few moments together before we close. Wherever you are, no matter the pose, I want you to soften the front of your legs. Let the quads relax and the hip flexors relax. Let that feel like the low back spreads out. And the abdomen softens. Release the tension across the front of your chest. Letting the shoulders melt down into the ground. And the collarbones melt away from each other. Relax your hands and your feet. Let your arms and your legs get heavy. And then lastly, relax your jaw. Take your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. And put a little smile in that space between your eyebrows, smoothing out the wrinkles in the forehead. Breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Follow the breath. Breathe it in. 3, 2, 1. Let it out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. The biggest breath in for 5, 4, 3, 2. Hold it at the top. And then exhale, sigh everything out. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And slowly start to make your way out of your final resting posture. Removing any rollers, taking your legs off the wall. Roll on to your right or left side. Take just a moment to pause. And then lift yourself up to a seated position. Just take one more moment together, legs crossed, eyes closed. Take a moment to scan your body from your head all the way down to your toes. You've stretched all of it. And just invite any last bits of softness, just some areas that are maybe holding on to that tension or that resistance. Melting the shoulders and the sides of the neck. Feeling that extra length in the spine. And sweep your arms up overhead. Take a big inhale. And big smile. Hands come down by your center, your sides as you exhale. You guys are all finished.